At the Roselle Center for Healing, we care about your health and want to help you take your health in a new direction, far from drugs and surgery. Knowledge is the key to optimal wellness and control of your health. We offer free health education on chronic health conditions and natural integrative medicine treatments. Register for free today.
Attend Is Sugar Still Public Enemy Number 1 on Wednesday, May 21st at 6 p.m. Space is limited, so register today. Call 703-698-7117 or visit rosellecare.com.
The information provided on Dr. Tom Roselle Live by Dr. Tom Roselle, D.C., interview guests, show co-hosts, or substitute hosts is not intended or implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. It is for general information purposes only. Information from this broadcast should not replace the appropriate consultation and examination process by a licensed physician. Always consult your own physician prior to changing any current medical directive or prescription.
This is Dr. Tom Roselle Live on 105.9 FM WMAL.
Hey everybody, welcome. This is Dr. Tom Roselle. You're listening to Dr. Tom Roselle Live on good old 105.9 FM WMAL, and we've got a show to you that we're going to be doing on the continuation of the topic of how you're destroying your body with sugar, but we're going to do it from a little different perspective, and it's kind of a prelude, if you will, into this coming Wednesday evening, the 21st presentation at the Roselle Center for Healing in Fairfax. We're going to be doing sugar public enemy number 1, or is sugar still public enemy number 1? I'm here to tell you it's probably public enemy number 1, 3, and 5. On so many different levels. But join us. Dr. Scott Lamp and I will be co-presenting, and we're going to show you how this addictive substance that so many of us get way too much. Remember, I've said about 170 pounds per person per year causes everything from diabetes to heart disease, joint deterioration, mental deterioration. It's ugly as all get out. The joints not only destroy themselves, then you start getting stenosis, then you start getting those neuropathic problems, the neuropathic problems that come along with diabetes. But this coming Wednesday, the 21st, we're going to unveil the solution and how to get this thing fixed. And so many of you are sitting there and say, but I don't want to give my sugar up. Well, then you're going to die miserably, my friends, unfortunately. So, we've talked about sugar and cancer. We've talked about joint deterioration. As we go into the live stream today, you're going to follow me right after. You go to drtomroselle.com. And we're going to be talking about the arthritic problems that are perpetuated from gout and things of that nature because of sugar. But what I want to start on today is simply this. I want you to know what's being said across the board about sugar. And we're going to take from our secretary, Robert Kennedy Jr. And he's out there attacking everything. But I want you to know his position and the official position because of him. And he's talking about sugar and he's calling it poison. It's a poison business. And it's really, he's really out there. He's one of the first people ever to tell you how you are destroying your life. So here's why Kennedy is sounding the, hey, heads up type of thing. You guys are killing yourselves, and making sure that you have all the tools. So Health Secretary Kennedy, has already placed things like, the food colorings and seeds and oils and highly processed foods in crosshairs. Now he's doing the same thing with sugar. He's talked about the artificial food dyes. He called them poison compounds. And, he did a whole conference on this thing. But here's the deal. From trying to phase out the petroleum products and the colorings that are in your foods, he needs to go after some other things, in my opinion. And finally, he's going after one of the things that I think is one of the biggest culprits in our life, in hyperactivity patterns, in addictive patterns, in craving patterns that continues to self-perpetuate. He did all the dyes, right? Dyes number 1, 2, 3, 40, 5, 6, and he told you how bad they are and the cancer problems that come about because of that. So now he's sounding the alarm on sugar and why sugar is deadly and why it can be problematic. Now, we're not telling you not to, just stop eating a little bit of fruit, because fruit, particularly berries and things like that, are good for you. But why is sugar itself so problematic? Why so many, if you will, so many of us have a complicated relationship with this product. If dieting had its own Disney princess movie, sugar would probably be the villain. Did you hear me say that? It'd actually be pretty good. I just thought about that. That'd be cool, right? So if dieting was a Disney movie, we would make sugar the villain. It's hard to have a positive or neutral relationship with something that's constantly labeled as bad or addictive, but it is. It straight up is. Many of us have likely been on restrictive diets over the years, and because they've told us that you can't do this, you can't do that. And the diets always demonize sugar, and they tell us to cut it out or strictly limit sugar directly, or more importantly, our carbohydrate intake. This kind of restriction can make us feel out of control, around sugar. So, it's like we're not in the driver's seat. We find ourselves, eating birthday cakes and cupcakes and sugar laden. How about sweet teas? We live in the South here in the good old Washington D.C. area and Virginia and the Carolinas and so forth. It's all sweet tea. We talked about how much sugar a full cup goes into making a big batch of sweet tea. It's like, oh my gosh, really? We're putting that all in our body. So we have to resist the urge, if you will, to label foods as good or bad. Did I just shift on you? Did I just change? Well, not really. But labeling foods as good or foods that are bad will keep you stuck in an anxiety pattern, in an oh my God situation, and give you that guilt feeling. Having grown up in a Roman Catholic family, I know what guilt comes like, in many different forms. But look, what I'm talking about is this. When we have something that's bad for us, supposedly, and it causes us to rebel, if you will, against our cultural rules or our societal rules. It makes it much more difficult, if you will, to step up to the plate. But every place you turn around, there's sugar that's been added. So take a moment to reflect on how you embrace and how you think about sugar. Does it dredge up a fear of anxiety, or you go, yumbo, I want more of that? Well, some people take the latter. But you have rules that you put into thought process. Now, can sugar be more neutral? Probably. And it depends on what you're really trying to do. Sugar is just one of a whole many different types of foods in anybody's diet. But while it's harsh, and pretty much in your face, to rewrite your thought processes, sending yourself into kind of a neutral position about any food, but particularly sugar. And because you heard it over and over, Ned, sugar's going to kill you. You've heard me over the last several weeks talking about how it can destroy joints and how it causes diabetes and cancers and so forth. And it's cancer's number one food. Cancer loves sugar. But you got to understand also that sugar plays a very vital role in your body. Now, I'm not giving you absolution and telling you to go out and eat a whole bunch of stuff. What I'm telling you is that sugar in the form of glucose is the preferred source of energy for your body. But you have to understand that in this situation, less is better. Carbohydrates that are found in grains and dairy products and fruits and vegetables, they're broken down by your body into that substance called glucose. But a little bit goes a long, long way. When we deprive our bodies of glucose, they don't function the way they're supposed to. No, now you don't go out and say, okay, see, he just told me I can have sugar. And that's not what I'm saying to you. I'm saying that most foods have sugar or substances that can convert into glucose. And if you chew them well and you begin the process of digestion and you break it down, suddenly the amount of sugar drops exponentially. Glucose is especially useful, for those of us are extremely active, walking and hiking and running and playing racket sports and things of that nature. But we want to make sure that we keep it at a very low level when we're working out. So what's a low level when we're working out? It should come from good sources, right? About 3/4 of a gram of carbohydrate, if you will, per kilogram of body weight. And that's about an hour before you work out. So you're going to consume maybe, 155, 160-pound person may consume 40 to 50 kilograms, if you will. Or no, excuse me, about what's the math on that? It's a whole lot less, right? Maybe about 70 grams of quality carbohydrates. I didn't say sugar, I said carbohydrates before you work out. And guess what you get after you work out? Protein only, my friends. No carbohydrates. Don't go get the sugary stuff after you eat. You need to have a nice heavy protein something that is going to help rebuild. And you do that for 2 hours. 2 hours post-workout, post-exercise. No junk in your body, only protein. And you'll find that you'll feel great. Your body will feel better than it's been in a long time. But we have to really be mindful of the types of foods that we're consuming, because if you don't start eating the way you're supposed to, you're destined to all those stupid things that we've been talking about before. The cancers and the diabetes and the stenosis and the mental deterioration and so forth and so forth and so on. Kennedy, going back to Secretary of Health, made some interesting commentaries recently. And, if you're following what he's doing and what he's saying, you're going to say, really? And that's the first thing you're going to come up with. But when he started talking about, the recent, if you will, I'm going to use the recent declaration that sugar is poison, and that's the words that he used, sugar is poison, and Americans really need to know what that means and the spin-off, if you will, the ripple effect. It's important that you take a proactive stance in your own life, in your own health. So if it's true, and then that sugar is causing all this degenerative disease, limiting what you put in your body would be a good start, a good idea, a good place to begin the process. If you go back and you really study what Kennedy has been saying about all this, and it goes back this last April, he made headlines, about refined sugars. And it was reported very extensively by a magazine called Inc., I-N-C. And he said Americans should ideally consume zero sugar as far as sugar by itself. Zero, not a little bit, not artificial sugar, zero. Why? Because you can get the sugars you need from good carbohydrates if you balance your diet properly and a little bit of fruit and so forth. And, he's looking at trying to get the government to put label requirements, so you can understand, sugars and the contents in the packages and so forth, very much like a pack of cigarettes. Cigarettes, you buy them today, there's a big black band on it that says that it can cause this, this, and this, right? I don't smoke, so I don't read the label. But I think what we need to do is give Americans a lot of knowledge, all of us. Because why do we pick on America? Why do we pick on Western culture? Because I'm telling you, the rest of the world isn't as bad as we are. Well, with the exception of maybe Italy, and I always kid about that. They like a little espresso with their sugar. They get these, and they're drinking coffee all the time. But they've even shifted. The younger generation still likes their coffee, their espresso, but they don't put the sugar in it like their parents did over the years. So there might be a war on sugar, but there's not a war on candy. Do you hear what I just said? So everybody's looking for the added sugars, but we forget that candy and cakes and ice cream and all those things have high levels of sugar on it. The meal replacements. You say, well, I get a protein bar. Have you ever looked at some of these protein bars? They're basically a sophisticated cookie, and it's loaded with sugar in many cases. Yeah, it's got protein in it, but it's also got a lot of sugar. The average American consumes about 34 teaspoons of sugar a day. A day. That's just on average. And that's not with everything else that they do on binges. It's crazy, isn't it? I don't know about you, as I've said many times, somebody's getting my share because I don't do that. I don't get into those things. Any kind of sugar that goes into my body, with an exception of an occasional situation, is carbohydrate. And it comes in the form of buckwheat and oats and things like that. But and that's not every day either. So when people ask me, I said, why is your energy so good? Because I, on purpose, make it that way, because I know the things are going to make me sluggish like a car that's broken down. So when we have a public health concern, which we should, about sugar consumption, and we have to intensify the awareness of all of us, all of you. Food manufacturers have to prepare for the reality that there's going to be some regulatory changes coming. Why? Because we're finally getting the eyes opened on all of us, our public of realization of what's going into our bodies. We have a country that is sick. We have a country that's overfat. We have a country that's causing itself to go down in a quality that is not okay. We used to have one of the highest and best lifestyles when it came to our abilities to do, to achieve, to interact, and now it's going the other way. Now we're seeing disease processes that are spiraling in the wrong direction. Why is that? We've talked about COVID, we've talked about vaccines, we've talked influenza, and we're going to continue touching on those subjects as we go on over a period of hopefully years from now. But I'm here to tell you that you can take control of your life. As we get into the live stream today, we're going to talk about degenerative arthritic conditions and why sugar is so bad for that. And on this Wednesday evening, we're going to really get into the depth on this. We'll get into the weeds. We're going to show you, and we're going to demonstrate, and we're going to talk to you about the things that can happen. We're going to show you what happens with your heart. We're going to show you what happens with your brain. We're going to show you what happens with your joint spaces. And we're going to give you some tools of how to turn this around. I'm going to teach you how to exchange things properly, how to stop that crazy craving, how to actually put a negative stinking thinking on what sugar really is. And maybe if I told you a couple of things that are in that soda besides the sugar, if I told you what was in that sweet that you grab in the middle of the afternoon, the candy that you're grabbing, if I told you what was in some of these carbohydrates that you're consuming, maybe you'd think twice before you grab it. Well, that's what I'm going to do Wednesday night. I'm going to get into some of the weeds, if you will, on this, and I'm going to give you the tools to kind of aggravate yourself, if you will. So make you think twice. I know you don't want me to ruin your pleasures, but you know what? I owe it to you. I owe you the information, the truth, so you can make the decision. I'm totally okay with you deciding. It's called freedom of health choice, freedom of medical choice. I'm the guy that says that, you have to make your own decisions based on the accurate information about whatever it is that you want to have a choice on. Not somebody's viewpoint, not somebody's conclusions, but your conclusions. You're smart people, but you have to have the right data. And it doesn't cost anything to listen to multiple platforms. But ask the question, where do they get their information from? What do they have to gain by it? And ultimately, what was their final motivation? Was it control? Was it money? Was it whatever it was? You have to make those decisions based on the right data, the right information. So that's what we're going to get into this coming Wednesday evening. I want you to join us. Make sure you register today, right after we're done here on WMAL, and register for the class. And I promise you, it's going to be an evening well worth spending with Dr. Scott Lampin and myself. We're really going to get into this situation in depth, if you will. But, when you have somebody like, Robert Kennedy, who's heading up, Health and Human Services, and he's calling sugar poison. Poison. And there's a reason that's there. It's not happenstance. It's not his opinion. It's the fact that it is. He's expressed a lot of controversial views, among them, vaccines and fluoridated water, which I've been kind of yelling from the pulpit for years and years and years. Don't drink public water that is not filtered, because fluorides will cause kidney problems and heart problems and neurological problems over time. You know my views on vaccines. You want to make your own decision and say, yes, I do. Well, then go ahead and make that decision. You should have the choice, but the choice based on clarity of information. So now we're going after sugar. And, his Kennedy's threat, if you will, to take actions against the manufacturers, is making a lot of people very worried. Why? Because it's big business, straight up big business. That's all it is. Do you think any of these guys really, have your health at their primary concern when they're putting all this sugar and everything, these artificial sugars and everything? No, because they know it's addictive. Sugar is one of those things that we perpetuate in a lot of different things. We use your sweet tooth, right? Well, how about your degenerative tooth? I don't know. I'll put things in a little different situation, but they combine it with what? Chocolate and, oh my God, chocolate. I love chocolate. I can't get my chocolate. Well, and somebody asked me, do you like chocolate? Yeah, I love chocolate, but do I get a lot of it? If it's like 77% or better, and then, those chocolate bars that are 77%, they're organic and free traded. A bar of that may take me a month. And I'll have a little bit, a cup of tea, and you're looking at me and saying, yeah, you're a crazy boy, right? You're absolutely out of your mind. Well, I don't say no to things. I say, okay, only on my terms, and I know the risk, and I know what I'm doing, and I need you to understand what you're doing as well. And if you have that information and you can make a difference in your own life, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great to be able to beat the cancer, get rid of the respiratory disease, get rid of the inflammatory reactions that are causing you to feel like you're 95 years old and you're only 45? There's a way to go around this. Is we're going to show you how to break the addiction. So join us this coming Wednesday evening, the 21st, and we're going to show you the carbohydrate addictive pattern that is causing so many different problems in your body, causing the pain, causing degeneration, causing the cancer, causing the dementia. And if you could turn that around, if you could make yourself 50% better, how would your life be then? Is it that we totally deprive our bodies of something that's fun, low sugar? Yeah, maybe not. But we want to make sure that it is a treat on an occasion, and that when we sit down and eat it, we don't want to sit there and eat the entire box or bag or whatever it is that we're eating. Glucose is especially dangerous for people who already have underlying problems. So this Wednesday evening, the 21st, join me, and we're going to have some fun. And I get to meet you. I get to say hey to you. And you'll get to see what we do, and we'll talk to you about other things if you want to do that as well. This time is for you. We set it aside on a monthly basis on different topics because we want to help you help yourself. That's the whole process. We want to make sure you have the information. So we're getting ready to go to the live stream now. And to get there, if you're not already following me, which you should, go to Dr. D-R-T-O-M, Roselle, R-O-S-E-L-L-E, and click the banner and join us immediately. And we'll continue this process, but we're going to talk specifically about joint deterioration and breakdown. Remember, I'm here every Sunday for one reason only. You deserve this information. And more specifically, I love you all. Have a great Sunday. Take care of yourself. Bye.
Breast cancer is a major health risk to all women. It can silently grow uninterrupted for years. The Thermography Centers of Fairfax reminds all women to conduct monthly and annual breast exams. Consider a thermography scan from the Thermography Centers as an adjunct to your routine breast exams. Digital infrared thermal imaging is safe and non-invasive. For more information and to schedule an appointment, call 703-520-7591 or visit thermographycenters.com.
Neuromuscular dentistry is more than just teeth and gums. Temporomandibular joint disorder can be painful, and only a skilled neuromuscular dentist can diagnose and treat it. If you are in pain and suffering from TMD, call the neuromuscular dentistry experts at Soft Touch Dental Care. Learn more about TMD and how Dr. Michael Chung has successfully treated his patients. Call 703-319-6990 for a complimentary consultation or visit bestinsmile.com. That's 703-319-6990 or visit bestinsmile.com.
At the Roselle Center for Healing, we care about your health and want to help you take your health in a new direction, far from drugs and surgery. Knowledge is the key to optimal wellness and control of your health. We offer free health education on chronic health conditions and natural integrative medicine treatments. Register for free today.
Attend Is Sugar Still Public Enemy number 1 on Wednesday, May 21st at 6 p.m. Space is limited, so register today. Call 703-698-7117 or visit rosellecare.com.
This is Dr. Tom Roselle. After 43 years of practice and over 1 million patient visits, the Roselle Center for Healing knows what works and knows how you can take control of your health and wellness. My team of doctors practice 21st century integrative medicine. Whether you suffer from chronic pain and fatigue, allergies, or headaches, we can help. Take charge of your health before it's too late. Make an appointment today. Call 703-698-7117 or visit online at rosellecare.com. That's rosellecare.com.